Most people believe the word yes is dangerous because it can be recorded or reused later. That idea sounds logical, but it misses the real point. The real danger isn't technical, and it isn't legal. It's psychological. When a caller gets you to say yes, something subtle but important happens. You are no longer evaluating the call from the outside. You are now participating in it. That single word marks the moment where the conversation shifts from observation to cooperation. This has nothing to do with voice recording tricks or stolen audio clips. In reality, scammers don't need your recorded voice. What they need is your engagement. Saying yes signals agreement, compliance, and willingness to continue. From that point on, the caller gains control over the flow of the conversation. Once you agree to something small, your brain naturally tries to stay consistent. You become more likely to answer the next question, then the next one after that. Each response feels harmless on its own, but together, they reduce your resistance. The danger isn't the word yes, it's what happens after you say it. That moment is when the scam truly begins, even if nothing suspicious has happened yet. To understand why this works so well, you need to look at how the human brain responds to agreement. When you say yes, even to something small, your brain creates a sense of commitment. You've accepted a premise. And once that happens, questioning feels unnecessary or even uncomfortable. This reaction is known as psychological consistency. The brain prefers to stay aligned with its previous decisions. So after you agree once, you're more likely to agree again. Not because you've evaluated the situation carefully, but because continuing feels natural. Scammers rely heavily on this automatic response. Another factor is authority. When a caller sounds calm, confident, and professional, your brain fills in missing information automatically. You assume legitimacy without proof. The call feels routine, and routines lower your defenses because they don't trigger alert signals. There's also conversational momentum. Once a conversation starts flowing, interrupting it feels awkward. Hanging up suddenly feels rude, unnecessary, or premature. Even when something feels slightly wrong. The longer the call continues, the harder it becomes to stop it. Scammers don't rush this process. They want you relaxed, not alarmed. Panic makes people stop and think. Calm makes people continue without questioning. By the time the call becomes suspicious, you're already mentally invested. Scammers don't wait for you to say yes by accident. They design the conversation to lead you there. The goal at the beginning is not to collect sensitive information. It's to collect agreement and cooperation. They often start with simple, closed questions, questions that are easy to answer and hard to refuse. Can you hear me? Is this you? Am I speaking with the account holder? These questions feel harmless, but they are carefully selected to produce quick responses. Each short answer keeps the conversation moving, and it prevents you from stopping to analyze what's happening. Before you realize it, you've agreed multiple times without ever consciously deciding to do so. They also control the tone of the call. The voice remains calm, professional, and unhurried. There's no pressure at the beginning, because pressure creates resistance. Instead, they create familiarity. Familiarity lowers suspicion and creates comfort. In many cases, scammers already know small details about you. They use this information not to impress you, but to make confirmation feel safe. When you recognize something they say, your guard drops even further. They don't ask for information directly, they ask for confirmation. And once confirmation becomes a habit, controlling the rest of the conversation becomes easy. Once you understand why scammers want you to say yes, the solution becomes much simpler. You don't need to outsmart them. You don't need to argue. And you don't need to prove anything. You just need to stop participating. The safest response is not saying no. It's saying nothing at all. If a caller asks questions designed to get agreement, you are not required to answer. You don't owe them politeness. You don't owe them explanations. And you don't owe them confirmation. Silence and disconnection are your strongest tools. Legitimate companies will never punish you for ending a call. They expect customers to verify information through official channels. Scammers, on the other hand, rely on keeping you engaged. The moment you break that engagement, they lose control. If something feels slightly off, trust that feeling. You don't need proof to hang up. You don't need certainty. Ending the call is not a decision that requires justification. Understanding this changes the balance of power. The caller no longer controls the conversation. You do. And once you take that control back, the scam stops before it can begin. Scams don't succeed because people are careless. They succeed because conversations are designed to slowly take control. Once you understand that, you stop reacting and start deciding. If you remember one thing from this video, let it be this: you never need to stay on a call that asks for agreement. Control begins the moment you disconnect. Stay aware, stay in control.